All right, so here we are starting our third video in the What is Money series. My attempt at seeing people's finances over the years as a real estate broker to try to elevate the education of people as far as what money is, what it isn't. And if you watch the first two videos, basically there's three types of exchange. There's currency, there's money, and there's barter. And we discovered in the first two videos that we are currently, the dollar in the US is pegged as a currency, a fiat currency, meaning the value is pegged by decree. The dollar's worth something. So that's sort of a reality that's created for us. So I thought it might be fun to sort of give an example using something that my son got for Christmas this year. So if we put on a virtual reality headset and whoa, and this one is loaded up with dinosaurs, and if I look around, I see what the goggles are showing me. I see over here there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I look over here, I look up, there's a pterodactyl flying overhead. And I see the various things that the virtual reality headset is choosing to show me. And it looks very real. Everything looks three-dimensional. And when I look around, it moves with me. And it's really pretty cool. It's a cool toy. And this, when I put it on, is giving me my reality. The reality as far as my visuals is concerned is these goggles. Well, oh, it's kind of weird. There's also, when you have a fiat currency, like the dollar, we're being given a proclamation as to what the reality is. It's made up, it's fake, as we talked about again earlier. You can watch the earlier videos to see that. But being that it is fake, and the virtual reality, we're told what it's worth and it's controlled by someone else, giving us our reality. What does that look like? So we talked in the earlier videos that we are a fiat system and it's controlled by the Federal Reserve. So if the Federal Reserve is controlling all this and giving us our reality, and we know that the dollar since 1914 has lost 98% of its purchasing power, it doesn't seem like the Fed's doing a very good job. So what could the Federal Reserve do in order to do a better job for the people? The first thing we'd want to do is to audit the Fed and really know what's going on, because nobody really knows, because the Fed, even though it's a privately held for-profit corporation, it hasn't been audited, so we don't really know what's going on. First step would be to strip all power from the Federal Reserve except for two things. And those two things would be that it would be a lender of last resort, and that it would need to protect the purchasing power of money. Now, this is something a lot of people don't even think about, is the purchasing power of money. They don't realize it because it's slow enough that the power is being stolen every single day, that people just call it inflation or other things, that, oh, my money just doesn't buy as much because those greedy corporations or whatever the reasoning. So a great quote from a book that I've enjoyed reading, and I think if anybody wants to get in on the inside track to what money really is, I mean, we all spend so much time of our lives using it as a method of exchange. I'll hold it up here for Facebook as well. It's Gold, Silver, and it's by Michael Maloney. He's got a great quote in there that sort of captures everything we've talked about to this point. So, to this point, before 1913, there was no income tax. The entire government was paid for by tariffs, duties on imports, and excise tax. Taxes on things like alcohol, cigarettes, and gas. These taxes, and only these taxes, generated enough income for the government to operate. However, because it didn't generate enough income to pay the interest due the Federal Reserve, the privately held for-profit corporation, the income tax was created. To review, since 1914, we've borrowed every dollar into existence. We pay interest on every dollar in existence. That interest is paid to a private bank known as the Federal Reserve. The world's largest banks, not the government, own the Federal Reserve. A lot of people argue with me on that one, I know. And the United States can't pay off its debt. We can never, ever get out of debt with the current system. We can only borrow more money to pay the interest that's owed to the Federal Reserve. Now, that's a whole other discussion, but if you get your mind around that, we're basically enslaved. But again, I'll get to that in another video maybe sometime. And then our government created income tax so we could pay the interest that the Federal Reserve demanded for creating money, that the prior 100 or so years, maybe 120 years before, in our existence, Congress just made money and there was no debt associated with it. Interesting to me. So, welcome to the rabbit hole, your new context. So, again, we want the Federal Reserve to protect the purchasing power of money, not the price of assets like real estate and stocks and all that kind of thing. So, how would we protect the purchasing power of money? There's actually another book here I guess I'll jump into before I get into the ways to protect against the purchasing power being stolen. And Steve Forbes has a great book. It's a couple years old now. I think it's 2015, 2016, called Money. And in the book of Money, there's a whole lot of good nuggets in this book, actually. But there's really one thing that if the Federal Reserve were operating in the interest of the middle class of the United States, they'd be doing the following. They'd be setting a fixed dollar and gold ratio as, therefore, excuse me, let me reread that. They would have fixed weights and measures is essential for fair and free markets. We don't let markets each day determine on how many ounces there are in a pound, or how many inches there are in a foot, or the number of minutes in an hour. Money, similarly, is a measure of value. I believe it was the second video we did, we talked about in the last 100 years since the Federal Reserve has been created, they've taken the purchasing power of money from 100% of what it would purchase in 1914 down to 98% of that today. If we compare to gold, the example I gave was over the last 3,000 years, gold has not lost its purchasing power. I'm not an advocate for you to go out and buy gold or any other asset. I'm just showing that the dollar is an incredibly weak place to try to store value or keep money. So, this is the video that I promised we would try to come up with some ideas together as far as what can we do about the fact that every single day those dollars that you trade your heartbeats for and your time away from family and in traffic and everything, commuting to and from money-making opportunities or dollar-making activities, I should say, what can we do? If you play the game the way the Federal Reserve plays the game, you have to take a lot more risk than we did, say, 30, 40, 50 years ago. But with that risk does come reward, and you won't get killed as badly by the Federal Reserve and their monetary policy. So the first thing you could do is never dollar cost average into stocks. So what do I mean by that? Never dollar cost average into stocks. That's really common advice that a lot of us are spoon-fed. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you dollar cost average into stocks, I was doing that for a while early in my investing career. And every month I think I was putting in $250, doing, what mom and dad always told me to do, and get that money in there. When the stock market goes up, you buy a little less. When it goes down, you buy more. The problem with that goes back to the Federal Reserve controlling the price of the stock market through their monetary policy. So at one point, get this and wrap your head around it, through this dollar cost average and mutual funds and that kind of thing, I owned 2,200 companies. through mutual funds. 2,200 companies. Do you think I had any idea what the value of any one of those companies was? Mutual funds in that process is a way for us to focus on the value of the stock market pegged to dollar and not focusing on the value of an individual company. So, 2,200 companies, I had no clue what I was investing in. Absolutely none. I was dollar cost averaging, I was going to work, I was doing my thing, I was dollar cost averaging, I was doing repeat, rinse, repeat. So it gets you into a habit, and habits are what kill you with the dollar. So now, instead of investing in 2,200 companies where I have absolutely no clue, here's what you want to do now. Never invest in a company that you don't understand the value of. I think, I had 2,200 companies that I was invested in through these mutual funds and in my portfolio. And Warren Buffett, I think, owns, between 15 and 50 companies. Why? Because he's invested in value. So invest for value, meaning companies that you understand and would invest in whether their price of stock goes down or it goes up, step one. So you invest in a company that you understand for value and it pays a dividend. So when the company pays a dividend, let's say it's 4%, let's say that the dollar is being destroyed by 3%, you're automatically ahead because you've invested in something that has value and it pays a dividend, which helps you overcome that instead of going through the cycles of dollar cost averaging, which just eats away your money when you compare it to the purchasing power you had before you started. So the other one, my favorite, is income producing real estate. Yeah, baby. Income producing real estate. That is another thing. There's value there. There's inherent sticks and stones and dirt. You can't take the inherent value of that away. So income producing real estate, here's the kicker. I hope if you're watching, you're sitting down. Not buying a home. Buying a home is a terrible, terrible investment. And if you track it outside of the value of the dollar, remember the dollar is being artificially manipulated in its purchasing power, and it's a measuring tool. If you take your primary residence and unpeg it from the dollar, its value really doesn't go up that much over time. And if it does, it doesn't go up enough to cover for inflation. So don't buy a home if you are trying to win the money game, because there's taxes and insurance, maintenance, upkeep, everything that's involved with it, and you're also paying a mortgage. And the mortgage is valued in what? Can you pay them in goats every month? Can you pay them in stocks every month? Can you pay them in certificates for your business? No, they want dollars. And dollars are doing what? So, income producing only, don't buy a home unless you want to and you've got your money all figured out. Buying a home should come last. And I'm a real estate broker. I love selling real estate to people, and I love helping them use it as part of their lifestyle and also part of their financial picture. But a house is a terrible investment. And it doesn't help you necessarily fight against the devaluation of the dollar. So a safe place to put your money then, as we said with the suit example and the gold coin and all that in the previous videos. By the way, if you like what you're seeing here, go ahead and like down below, share, get this information out to people. I really want to share this with people because people don't understand money. And if you follow me or know me, you know that I like to get into rants about it and stuff on social media. But I'm really passionate about it because there is such a strong misunderstanding of our dollar. But number 3, in our gold coin example, you can buy gold and silver. And it really doesn't matter at what price you buy it at, right? What's this camera? Oh, that's weird. My camera just went out on me. Huh, okay, it's back in. So it really doesn't matter what price you buy gold and silver, because when we talk about the price, we're talking about the price in dollars, right? So as far as dollars go, it doesn't really matter because the dollar is going to fluctuate. I think the high of gold in the last few years was like $1,800. It's like $1,200 or $1,300 now. That's just measured in dollars. But over time, that same gold coin from 3,000 years ago will still buy a suit. So you could also, you know, if you wanted to buy anything that of value that you can use in the future, buy food. Food is a great place to store away value because you're always going to need food as long as it hasn't expired and gone out of usefulness as far as being able to eat it. Then you're good to go. Invest in education. A good education, especially a financial education, maybe not a university, unless you're going to a specific field, but really knowing what's going on in the world and being able to... Oh my gosh, I've talked so long, I've filled up my video. Well, I guess maybe we'll go on the Facebook here. Education, they can't take that away from you. They can't inflate that away. And then also, let's do social relationships. You know, if things got really bad and the money and the currency is all gone kaput, then we could go back to a barter system. In a barter system, you're going to need those really good social relationships to exchange with people. And, okay, that's filled up. Excuse me. And so in those social relationships, you know, that could be a good, it's fun, and it's a good thing to have friends and learn from each other. But if it does come down to a time when you have to barter and you have to go back to the raspberry flats, I'll give you the raspberries, you give me the dozen eggs, that kind of thing, that's going to be strongly supported by relationships. So let's see here. I've pretty much gone over some of the things you can do. I might go into more details in another video about how your house isn't an asset at all and how you should invest in income-producing real estate first before you get the luxury or the silliness. I equate buying a house sort of to buying a Ferrari. It's not necessarily a good investment, but it can be a lot of fun. It can be lifestyle. So since I ran out my juice on my camera here, I'm going to go ahead and pop off for now. Then I'll have to reboot everything, maybe do another video. But bottom line is purchasing power is what you want to protect. And without being able to purchase purchasing power, you're going to be worse off tomorrow than you are today. So, okay. Until next time, be sure to follow and like if you enjoyed.